Hi, this is Dustyn Payette of Good Morning Artists, and today we will be discussing the top 10 most expensive paintings of 2020. The art market is a billion-dollar industry, a $65 to $70 billion a year market to be precise. Now that's big. Although the bourgeoisie class and the ultra-rich can only find crumbs to spend on me as an artist, they were able to spend millions and millions of dollars on these 10 masterpieces, all sold in 2020. The first painting on our list of 10 is this squiggly line painting by Bryce Martin. It's definitely something I couldn't create because if I did, nobody would buy it. But Bryce did, and we love him for it. Bryce Martin was really cool. Was born in the Bronx and married Joan Baez's sister Pauline. He even hung out with Bob Dylan and Pete Seeger. I'm sure Mr. Martin would have enjoyed selling his painting for $30,920,000 in the 60s, but instead it sold at Christie's in July 2020. Next up on our list is number 9, and it is by Barnett Newman. It is a monolith of a painting that doesn't fit into my frame box. It's all blue with just one stripe down it. This signature zip in this painting became his trademark, and wouldn't it be great if it was just that easy for the rest of us? Newman came from New York and was a son of Jewish immigrants from Poland. He worked as a teacher, writer, and critic, but also painted for most of his life. This painting also sold for $30,920,000. Number 8 on our list is one of my favorite artists, Mark Rothko. He made squares, lots of them, and one can only imagine the sheer bravery to do such a thing. I know if I did it, I would be out on the streets begging for bread in weeks. But Mark Rothko, though, was from Russian descent, and he could face all challenges that came to him. He spent most of his time in New York City during his painting career, and it seems that anyone who painted in New York City from 1940 to 1980 is now famous. This painting, titled Untitled, that's a weird name, sold for $31,275,000 in no cents in October 2020. That brings us to number 7, this exquisite and beautiful painting by Xingqiu that just perfectly fits into my frame box. I love it. It is titled Quatre Nus, which I think means 4 nudes, maybe. Xingqiu is a Chinese-French painter and is sometimes known as the Chinese Matisse. He really does have tons of beautiful paintings, and he's quickly becoming more of a blue-chip investment in the art world. This painting sold for a paltry $33,333,200. Wow, that is just so many threes. But in my opinion, they still should have paid more, like $113 more, to make it all threes. I just don't understand why they didn't. I mean, come on, guys. Down to number 6 we go. Or is it up to number 6? Twombly. His paintings always sell for millions of millions, and this one was no different. This one is also titled Untitled. I wonder why everyone calls their paintings that. Twombly is an American sculptor, painter, and photographer with tons of education. He's named after the famous baseball player Cy Young. This painting was made during a period in which Twombly was contemplating time and space. Well, I think he did a good job here. I see a lot of measuring going on here. I see a lot of space. I think there is some inner child peeking through in this. And my God, the critics agree because it sold for $38,685,000 in October 2020. Number 5 is something really, really old. Late 13th, 14th century old. It is a 7-foot scroll and it completely covers over my face. Great. It is painted by the high-ranking Ming Dynasty official Ren Renfa. The painting is titled 5 Drunken Princes Returning on Horseback. And now that's a title. Well done, Renfa. I guess the scroll is very important and boasts an impressive provenance dating back to the Ming Dynasty. All this together causes a 75-minute bidding battle over 100 bids and finally sold to the Law Museum in Shanghai for $39,553,800. Bam! History! And number 4 is painted by the ever-popular David Hockney. It is a landscape painting painted portrait style so that it doesn't fit into my frame box! Thanks, David. Hockney is our first British artist on our list, and he was an important contributor to the pop movement in the 1960s. This painting depicts the long, winding road Nichols Canyon on your way to Hollywood Hills. Hockney once traded this and another painting to Andre Emmerich for a Picasso. That's crazy, yo. The story and provenance helped this painting fetch a cool $41,067,500 on December 7th, 2020. On to number 3 on our list of most expensive paintings sold in 2020. This elegant and magnificent painting by Roy Lichtenstein. Lichtenstein was a little rich boy from New York City who took every advantage of his world. He was well educated, a professor, and one of the leading artists of the pop movement in the 1960s. Pop artists did what capitalists do, and that was to just steal ideas. Roy was no different, and he copied the style of the comics he was surrounded by. This painting, titled Nude with Joyous, you can see the Ben-Day dots used in comics at the time, is featured heavily here and with many of his most famous paintings. The art world loves his imperialistic art spirit, and that's why this painting sold for $46,242,500 of July 2020. Now we are getting to the good stuff. Number 2. And why did I even make this frame box? I don't know. It is a Ming Dynasty hand scroll by Wu Bin. It is ancient Chinese calligraphy, and you can't just find these laying around places. It caused an hour-long bidding war, and it became the highest auction sold in Asia of all time. It features 10 paintings of a single rock from 10 distinct views, and is appropriately titled 10 Views of Lingbi Rock. And then it has a lot of words. It almost looks like a textbook chapter about geology. Some describe this painting as the most extraordinary painting of a stone ever created. What? All this makes this add up to a final bid of $75,436,800 in October 2020. And here we are, finally, to our number 1 most expensive painting sold in 2020. And it is 3 paintings altogether. Great, awesome. It is by Francis Bacon, and it looks like a nightmare. It was inspired by a Greek tragedy of a guy's name too weird for me to try and say. It is a representation of what Bacon saw when he was reading the Greek myth. Bacon painted 28 of these triptychs, and only one must be really special. The artwork probably works best hanging in most dining rooms. And that's why this easily sold for $84,550,000 to somebody that I would just like to say, I can make this. I can. Just call me up. This is Dustyn Payette of Good Morning Artist saying thank you for watching, and keep those sketchbooks out. You never know what might sell for millions of dollars someday in the future. Oh, and please subscribe if you haven't already and you watch this entire video without subscribing. What are you doing?